Welcome to Daily Armour. Our verse today will be found in the book of Matthew, chapter number 7 and verse number 12. And I've been looking at these verses for several days, and it was very funny. I was thinking of this verse number 12, but I couldn't remember exactly how to quote it. And I was struggling as I was looking through my Bible app, and I was punching in keywords, and I would put in a keyword, and I would look, and I'm like, no, that's not any of those verses. And I'm like, okay, Teresa, think, how does this verse go? And as I was pondering on this verse, that's not anywhere anyway close to what the way I was saying it. So I was in my paraphrase of it, I was not correct at all. But if we look at chapter number 7, verse number 12, let me tell you what the scripture does say, and come to find out that it was already right there in Matthew chapter number 7, which I have been in quite a bit here recently. So it was right under my nose the whole time. So I'm sure many of you have had that happen to you as well. But verse number 12 in Matthew chapter number 7, it says, "Therefore all things whatsoever you would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets." I had said something to Todd about a week ago, and it just kind of stuck with me. And I was like, well, I need to look that up in the scripture because I know it's in there. I just need to find it specifically, the scripture and the address. And so I was paraphrasing something to him, and I was telling him, I'm trying to treat you like I would want to be treated, and we were laughing about something and going on about something, but that just kept going on in my mind about I want to treat him like I want him to treat me. I want to treat others, not just my spouse, but I want to treat my friends like I would like to be treated. I want to treat strangers like I would like to be treated. If you think about at church, and if you have somebody that's a new person that walks in the door and they are they're looking around trying to find somewhere to sit, and we just want to treat them like we would like to be treated if we're new to an area, if we're new to a congregation, if we're just visiting, and we don't want to be, we want to be sure that we're not being rude to somebody, but we want to speak and welcome them, and we want to be polite. But this is going a little further than just being polite. This is handling situations that in a way that you would want somebody to handle the situation if the roles were reversed. So if you look up, I want to remind you the scriptures in Matthew chapter number 7. This is all red letters. So this is Jesus has been speaking, and I mean, if you can go back to chapter number 6, chapter number 5 begins the Sermon on the Mount, and so you're just seeing the Lord, and he's teaching and preaching and preaching. And so there's so many golden nuggets in here that we need to take hold of. But this is not just talking about being polite. And we should be polite, and we should use our manners, especially those of us that live in the South. That should be something that I know some people find it odd, but they should find it refreshing that we are choosing to be polite, even if it's in an intense situation. But it's not. I'm not just going to be talking about just that, though. Not just being polite. We get in circumstances all the time where there's maybe there's been a conflict, and maybe there's been something that's taken place. Maybe that you're going through a battle. Maybe that you've been sick and nobody knows it. Maybe that you are facing some trials and nobody knows about it, and you are just going through so much, but yet you want others to treat you with just a little bit of privacy. You want them to treat you with a little bit of respect, and we don't have to be bombarded with questions, and we don't have to be bombarded with all kinds of information. I can pray for you without having to know any of the details. A lot of times I don't want to know all that stuff. It's too much for me to bear. I can't bear all that. If you've got a burden and you want to share that with me, that's wonderful. But if you've got a burden and you don't want to share it with me, you can just say, "Miss Teresa, will you pray for me? I have an unspoken request." We do that all the time. I have things that I have to leave unspoken that I don't really even share some personal, private things with Todd. Things that, maybe as a mom or a pastor's wife or whatever other duties that I have, that I try not to lay too much of a burden on him because it's really not anything that he can do about it, but that I just take these things to Christ. I take them to Christ. So, and this situation here in verse number 12, I want to read it. Therefore, all things. This is every situation. This is not just about being polite. This is about handling every situation that comes along. This might be something where it's a conflict in a family, in your family. It might be a conflict with a neighbor. It might be some kind of situation at work, or with a coworker, or with a friend that you've had. Maybe there's something that's come up and you really don't know how to handle it. And you want to sometimes want to take the bull by the horns and just do something. But the Lord's saying you need to stop. You need to ask yourself, if the roles were reversed, how would you want to be treated in this situation? And so that's what we're talking about today. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, how would you want to be treated? Think about it. Think about whatever situation might be going on in your life. How would you want to be treated? Would you want somebody to be patient? Would you want somebody to be understanding? Would you want somebody to be forgiving? Then look what it says. Do ye even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Do ye even so to them. If you could stop, don't get caught up in anger. Don't get caught up in the confusion. There's so many things that people do. I have so many people that will come to me because I'm the pastor's wife. They don't always want to go directly to him about something. They want to come to me. A lot of times he's busy, or a lot of times it's just something that they don't feel maybe comfortable asking him, but they thought, well, maybe they'll ask me. I don't always have the answer. Because he's the pastor, and the Lord is speaking to him about decisions that he has to make and things that he has to do. But they'll come to me sometimes, and they don't always understand why he makes decisions. Why would he do this, and why would he not do this? Why did he start this? Why did he cancel this? So there's things that come up from all around, all the time. And when I am thinking about how they are treating him in this situation where they're more confused, they need to be understanding, and that there's more to it than you understand. There's more to it than he said, because there's a lot of things that he doesn't want to divulge, because there's a lot of things that are supposed to be kept private between him and maybe someone else. And so there's things that we have to be understanding about, and we want whenever me as a mom, I've had to make some decisions that my kids didn't understand why I was doing that. I didn't always have time to explain myself. I wanted them to simply understand that I know it doesn't make sense sometimes. And I know, Mom, you might think I do some crazy things sometimes. But I want you to be understanding that I'm trying to do what I feel like is best. I have prayed and I've asked the Lord, and this is the next step, and I don't know what's going to come after that, but this is the next step. And so we want to be understanding one with another. We may not always agree with others' decisions. We may not always agree with others' actions. And we may not always agree with how things are handled, but this is being responsible for our actions and our reactions. And it's taking a situation that, and there's so many out there. I mean, there's so many situations, and maybe you're not even in one, but maybe you're fixing to be in one. Maybe something, you're going to get a phone call, or you're going to get a situation that's going to come up in the next week or the next couple of weeks or whatever. And the Lord's going to say, now remember, I want you to stop, and I want you to think about how you would want to be treated in this situation. If the roles were reversed, if it was something that you had been in the middle of, it's something that happened to you, how would you want others to treat you? How would you want to be treated? And treat this person, this situation, this group, whatever the situation may be, treat this situation as you would want to be treated. And so, like I said, this is just going to be a quick devotion. I've not had a lot of camera opportunities here recently. I'm hoping that's going to get better here soon. So just pray for me, and I'll be praying for you. And let's think about how we can treat somebody the way we would like to be treated, the way Christ is teaching us all through his word of how to treat others and how to treat situations and not draw judgments, not be welled up in anger. I remember, and I think it was a scripture I shared recently, and it was in 1 Timothy, and he was talking about that his prayer was that men would be given to prayer. They would be praying instead of caught up in wrath. And he doesn't want us to be, the Lord doesn't want us to be caught up in our tempers. He doesn't want us to caught up in any kind of gossip whatsoever. And he doesn't want us to share anything ill coming out of our mouth. We are to be careful what we say and how we handle every situation that comes our way. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.